This is Wild About Utah.
Never have I seen the coming of spring celebrated with more flair than Mendon's May Day. On the first Saturday of every May, maypoles with 20-foot-long ribbons appear in the Mendon town square. By 10 o'clock, a couple hundred residents have gathered around the poles. A piano in the gazebo strikes the first chords, and the May Queen and her entourage step round the corner of the church and onto the green. Suddenly, everybody gathered in the square begins to sing, "Come to the woodlands, away, away." Most people know the whole song by heart. The queen is crowned, and the real showstopper, the braiding of the maypoles, begins. Mendon's young girls, grades 1 through 5, pick up the ribbons. Braiding the poles is complicated. The girls have been practicing after school 3 times a week since the beginning of April. Last week, I dropped in on one of the practices and counted 3 maypoles, 64 girls, and a little bit of chaos. There's a march, a minuet, more songs, stepping in, stepping out, kneeling, skipping. The girls bob up and down singing Apple Blossoms Swing and Sway. Mendon is one of Cache Valley's oldest pioneer towns, tucked up against the Wellsville Mountains. Winters were long and hard, and the coming of spring eagerly awaited. The beginnings of May Day can be traced back to the days when the young girls in the pioneer settlement raced up the hillsides to gather spring wildflowers to put in their hair. The first May Queen, Senny Sorensen, was crowned with a hand-woven wreath of flowers in 1863. Since then, every year, rain or shine, a queen has been crowned in the town square, and the maypoles have been braided with the same songs and dance steps. 160 years, and only a few changes. The queen's name is now drawn out of a hat from a pool of the town's high school juniors. And this year, for the first time ever, the young girls will be getting store-bought dresses. In the past, the mothers were expected to sew the matching dresses for their daughters. Not knowing about this tradition, you can imagine how bewildered I was when I first moved to Mendon and answered a knock on my door. A woman I didn't know handed me a dress pattern and proceeded to say something about altering the interfacing. I was pretty sure she was speaking English, but I couldn't understand a word she was saying. Luckily, my good friend and neighbor quickly brought me up to speed. This wonderful neighbor had actually been May Day's queen over 50 years ago. "Do you want to see my crown?" she asked as she casually opened the door to her hall closet. And there it was, a tight ring of pink and white flowers secured to a tiny satin pillow with a fading ribbon. I had one more stop to make. I hopped in my car and drove up to the Deep Canyon trailhead high above Mendon. A short way up the trail, I found it, a whole hillside covered with curly yellow glacier lilies, the early bloomin' flowers that the May Day song, Maying and Straying, is all about. And believe me, this was a sight worth singing about. This is Mary Hears, and I'm wild about springtime in Utah.